Hi guys, I'm Ariel and today we're making warm tomato salad. There's a few good things about this salad. There's a lot of different colors, different textures, and another thing I like about it is there's different temperatures. So we're going to play around with some warm and some cold temperatures. So after you got all the ingredients, it's time to get started. Alright, so first things first, you're going to want to start to roast your red pepper. And you just want the skin to blacken, just so it's easier to peel. Alright. So now that your pepper is well blackened, you can turn off the heat and just put it in a separate container. Leave it covered for about 10 to 15 minutes while I get your other stuff ready. So here I have a pan with 4 cloves of garlic in it and a good amount of olive oil. You're just gonna want to cook the garlic until it gets nice golden brown and the oil soaks up a good amount of flavor from the garlic. Now in the meantime that your garlic is cooking, you're going to want to get your croutons ready. Now I just get my bread from my local supermarket and it comes with cornmeal on the bottom, and I don't really like the texture of that in the croutons or for the croutons. So I could do it, I do it, you could do it if you want to. I just cut the bottom off. So I'll set to the side. Now, I know that seems like a real neat thing to do, but this part isn't very neat. I just tear the bread off to make the croutons. I don't really like uniform cuts. It just looks better, I think, with the torn pieces. So now your garlic is browned. You're just going to remove it from the oil and put it in a separate container. You could keep this for another recipe. Has a pretty good flavor, so I would keep it for another recipe. And you're just going to want to add your basil to the oil. Now you might want to raise the heat for this one. And I'm adding about, I'd say, 10 leaves. Now these may burn, so you want to keep an eye on them, but then again they do pop in the oil, so you might want to keep a distance. But you definitely want to keep an eye on it. That looks like more than 10 leaves. So just keep an eye on that and let them get crispy, and then you can remove them from the pan. So now after about a minute or so, the leaves are nice and crispy. You can see they're dark and kind of shriveled up a little bit. Just remove from the pan. So now after you have your basil removed from the pan, you're just going to want to crush it up and make sort of these little basil flakes. And you can use whatever tool you have at your disposal, but I have a mortar and pestle, so I'll just use this. And it's alright if there's a little bit of oil in there. It's all flavor. Alright, so now we're going to want to prepare our onions. You're just going to want to cut it into pretty thin rounds, and then we're going to grill them. So slices about that thick is fine. You could go thinner, you could go thicker, it doesn't really matter. Alright, so now I have all my onions cut. Here I have some of the oil from the pan and just some salt and some pepper. Just want to give it a toss. If you can keep them together like this would be perfect. It's just easier to grill. But if they fall apart, it's fine. So now after you have your onions cut and seasoned, you're just going to throw them on the grill. And you're going to want to cook them for no real specific time, just until they get nice grill marks on them. And for some of the looser onions, like pieces like these, it's going to be kind of hard to tell when they're really fully cooked. So to be honest, it's all up to you as to how far you want to cook the onions. I like to cook them just until they're, evenly marked on the grill. After about 5 minutes, your onions are cooked. You can see they're pretty well browned or marked. Let's remove them from the grill. And then you can get started on your red peppers. So now after your pepper has been allowed to rest for about 10 to 15 minutes, you're just going to rinse the skin off under cold water. And you can see it comes off pretty easy now. If you can't get all the black parts of the pepper, don't worry about it. It actually adds a pretty good flavor. I like it. But try to get as much off as possible. As you can see, I removed the seeds as well. And now you're just going to want to split it up. You could use the whole pepper if you want, but to be honest, I don't like too much of it. So I'm just going to use about half of it. Cut it across this way. And you're just going to cut it in thin strips. Alright, now after you have it cut, you can add it to your bowl with onions. So now it's time to start with the main attraction, the tomatoes finally. Get your pan up to about medium heat. The oil should still be hot. And like I said, this is a warm tomato salad, so you're just going to want to warm them. Not really cook them all the way. So I know there's a good amount of oil in there still, but I like to keep it that way because it's a good amount of oil at the end of the whole salad. It sort of evens itself out, so just leave it like that. If you want to remove some oil, you could. It's really all up to you. So just let that cook until you see the skin start to wrinkle or the tomatoes about ready to burst. And I don't cut them in half because if you do, the juices start falling out, and you want to save that for the end of the salad because it sort of makes its own little sauce. Or dressing, I should say. So here you can see the tomatoes are already about ready to burst, the skin. And some you already see the skin start to be broken. So now you can remove it from the pan and add it to your peppers and your onions. Now I did season the tomatoes while they were in the pan. I just added some salt and some pepper. But again, the oil already has some flavor from the garlic and the basil. So there's a lot of continuity with the flavors. So here I have my yellow tomatoes. You're just going to want to cut them in quarters, or just match them with the size of the red tomatoes. So if you have to have them, then that's fine too. The point of leaving these uncooked is because, like I said, we're going to have different temperatures in here. So this is what's going to give it that, cold temperature. Everything else in here is cooked. So this is a nice contrast. So now you can add your yellow tomatoes to the rest of the salad. And once these start to get heated up by the rest of the vegetables, it's going to start to release some of the juices from the yellow tomato. So like I said with the oil, this salad is going to have its own little natural, just self-made dressing. So it's just less work for you. And as you can see, what I was saying about the sizes about the yellow tomato and the red tomato is that they're similar sizes, but when you go to the red pepper and the onions, once again, those are similar sizes too. So I like to have, some similarity throughout the dish, but then obviously things like the croutons won't be too uniform, and those we'll get to right now. So before I add my croutons to my salad, I already added the basil that we prepared before, that we crushed up with some of the oil. Just gonna give that a nice toss. Then you're just going to want to add the croutons. Now, actually, before you add them, if you're making this salad for guests that aren't there yet, or you just want to have the salad prepared last minute, I suggest that you leave the croutons in the oven or just save them for last minute to actually bake. And then you add them, because if you add them too early, it's just going to soak up all the dressing, and a soggy crouton is never good. Now you have everything together and your salad is ready. I like to add just a little bit more salt at the end. You could add a little bit more pepper. I don't really like to. One more good toss. And you're ready to plate. Now when I'm plating, I do like to add a little bit more of the oil from the pan that we had left over. And there's a lot of flavors being conserved here, so you might as well use them. If you don't want to add the oil, you don't have to. So, after all that hard work, you finally have your salad. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the salad. As I mentioned earlier in the video, there's a lot of good things about the salad. You can serve it cold, room temperature. I like to eat it, right when it's made. But there's a lot of variations you can do. As I was thinking of the recipe, I had a lot of ideas as to how I can make this as good as possible. And I left out a few things and I added a few things. So any ideas that you guys have for how the salad can be improved, or any variations that you made, please comment, and just follow me on Twitter, Instagram. I rarely will post on Facebook, but I may. So just leave those comments and subscribe.